them come. This is their fate.
All right, let me get my Birdman hands in there. All right. Welcome back to the House of Wolves podcast. I am your host, Deontay, here with my near and dear friends, Jalen and Josh. Today we got quite a bit to talk about. Some weird stuff happening. Xbox pushing games back. And we got also some WB stuff going on, as well as NDAs just being apparently broken. So got a lot to talk about, a lot of interesting things. So before we get started, per usual, Jalen, Josh, tell the people how you been, what you been up to, what you been doing, how's life going, what you been playing. Just talk to the people. Let them know how your last week been. Get my Birdman hands in there. All right. Welcome back to the House of Wolves podcast. I am your host, Deontay. Here are my near and dear friends, Jalen and Josh. Today we got not that many topics, but short and sweet. Hopefully we can get a lot of conversation around them, but we got Concord flopping, something terribly, probably the worst game I've ever seen launch in this state ever. Star Wars Outlaws actually being good. Hey, you gotta check it. You gotta listen. You gotta keep listening to understand why I said that. Deadlock finally got a full release, and it's doing way better numbers than Concord. Unfortunately, it's just poop on Concord day. Overwatch 2 may be being finished, and much more other stuff to talk about. But before we get started, per usual, Jalen, Josh, tell the people how you been, what you been up to, what you been doing, how's life going, what you been playing, what have you been up to. Talk to the people.
Yeah. You take it away, Jalen.
Yeah, I mean, mine's short and sweet. So, Deontay get a kick out of this. Been playing basketball, trying to, stay young, tweak my leg
Trying to be
again.
active. It's gonna be the
Tweak
theme
my-
for this podcast. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we didn't tweak my leg again. I'm like, bro. So I had crashed yesterday, bro. I was just like, man, I'm so tired. I did like a hard leg day on Saturday. Usually when I do like legs and stuff, hit me like the day. It hit me the next day, but it hit me real hard the following day. So I'm gonna go hoop on Monday and get the stretch. I got in there late. Go pick up a game. I'm like, bro. I tried to hit like a fadeaway or something and landed on my leg wrong. I was like, bro, it's the same leg. So I was like, man, what's up with the leg?
Cooked.
I'm like, cook, bro. So I was like, here I am. I'm icing it now as we do the podcast. So, but other than that, I think I was kind of doing a little bit more because I went to go run on Sunday, and I was trying to make sure I can try to do my miles and stuff like that to prepare for the 10K I got on not next weekend, but the following weekend. I'm gonna try to go get some running shoes and stuff like that too. So, but other than that, staying active. Y'all probably noticed I ain't been nowhere in a couple of weeks. Just telling Josh that before Deontay got here, I ain't been nowhere I've been at the crib chilling, doing my YouTube little thanky thing. Got a new video coming soon. Stay tuned. But other than that, game wise, I haven't really been playing much of anything. Same old Final Fantasy VII, the Rebirth, and then we've been playing a little bit of Overwatch. Was thinking about getting that Black Myth game, that Sun Wukong, but Deontay kind of deterred me because he said I need to play it on my PC rather than my PS5. So that's still pending. But other than that, that's about it.
All right, cool. Nice, short and sweet. All right, what about you, Josh? What you been up to? What you been doing?
Yeah. So what I've been up to? Hot as always, but we got a typhoon going over Japan. It hasn't hit our area yet, but a lot of rain. It's gonna be raining every day this week, pretty much. I don't expect it to be too bad for my area because I'm in a very big city and we're kind of it's situated like in between mountains where the weather doesn't impact us too bad, but some areas have a lot of flooding going on. Otherwise, working, taking care of the family, trying to get the little one to start daycare soon. So we're going around like checking out facilities, doing a bunch of paperwork, because in Japan it's actually very complicated to get into like daycare. I mean, I think it's always a lot of hurdles and always a lot of stuff to go through, but the paperwork that they need and signatures and all this type of stuff that you need for the government to like recommend you to places, because you can't, a lot of places you can't even just go there and walk in like, we want to bring our kid here. You got to go through the government to like get recommended and all this type of stuff.
What did he say? Why do you have to go to the government
What
just
did he say?
just to get your
'Cause
kid
it's-
in place?
So it's some private places. They probably cost more.
Okay.
That you might be able to go to, but most daycares, you know, which are a part of the national school system, whatever, you have to go to the like the it's called the ward office, but it's more like city hall. And basically what they do is based on your where you live, like your zip code, and they'll be like,
I'm
it's
assuming they
these 4
fund these
schools.
centers. I'm assuming.
Yeah, the centers get funding or to lower the overall cost
Gotcha.
of it. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, once you do all that, they'll tell you these schools are in your area. You can check them out and let us know the ones that you like, and we will let you know from there, because it's kind of like a point system as well, where it's like, okay, you low income family, you live in this location, blah blah blah. So we gonna pick this school for you because we think this one's the best one for you.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so it's a lot to go through with that, but hopefully next month we'll have a school picked, and we can take the little one there, which would be good because like she's very talkative, very active, and wants to like, you know, be around kids. So that'll be good. Otherwise, I've been trying to play a couple games because I've been playing a lot of free play games, and those are fun, but they're more chores because you gotta play them every day. You do your dailies, blah blah blah. So now I got some single player games to play, which is good. I started Star Wars yesterday.
Mhm.
Star Wars Outlaws. Not a whole lot to say yet, just at the beginning, walking around. But so far, I'm enjoying it. I like the. I think Ubisoft is always good at building cities, and it looks like feels like a nice environment. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it. Played a little bit of Deadlock the other day. We can talk about that later in the Deadlock Impressions, but I got to get y'all in there, I guess, to see a full impression, because it's hard to get a good grasp on like these team games by yourself. And it was 2 other things. Oh, okay. So I like. So my bad. Y'all played Persona 3 earlier this year.
Yeah.
And recently, like at work, I've been thinking about what Persona game I want to play, because I want to play another Persona game, but I'm trying to figure it out. I played 3 to death. I know everything about the game at this point, and I don't know if I want to play it through it again. 4 is okay. I don't really want to go through it again, so I was looking at 5, and I could pick up Royal and play through the new story stuff, but then just like really looking at the game structure, it's like, actually I'm not ready to play 5. So I decided to play Persona 2.
Oh. Okay.
I tried to play Persona 2 a couple years ago on the PSP, and I didn't like it. It's just because it's different, it's old, and it didn't really work. But come to find out, there's a lot of differences between the original PlayStation 1 version and the PSP version. So it's looking like I'm going to play the PlayStation 1 version. And I'll let y'all know, because I hear the story and the characters are good, but as far as like the overall structure, like they didn't have like the school system where you have the calendar where you go in to do stuff every day with your friends and stuff like that. It's probably just like a more traditional JRPG.
Mhm.
I might enjoy it, but we'll see.
Okay.
You might as well wait to play
Metaphor.
Fantazio.
That's exactly what I was thinking, but I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
can still play Metaphor, but it's not Persona.
Yeah, I suppose.
Man, they don't want to call it Persona 6, man. That's all.
I mean, yeah, it has a lot in Persona, but I was looking for the persona-ness in like the real world, whereas Metaphor is like, you know, in the fantasy world. I'm gonna still play Metaphor, but I'm gonna give Persona 2 a try. I don't mind going back to the old game. But that lead me to one other thing that, so how do y'all feel about old technology? Like if you know you clean out your house or you go back home to visit your family, you find an iPod or a VHS player or, you know, a DVD player. Is there any old technology that is probably not useful, but you just like the style of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was
Mhm,
I was on buy Xbox 360 2 days ago, $55 at a resale store.
mhm,
Simply because I like the aesthetic of a Xbox 360 and I like the the value that it brings. Um, so for me, yeah, I will absolutely shell out more money to keep on old technology that I will never play or never use because there's other ways to kind of utilize it or play
mhm.
it or experience it. But nothing beats booting up the original Xbox. Nothing beats using that original controller. Nothing beats me having those experiences that I remember. So no, it's not logical, but that's absolutely that's my perspective. That's why I still got that PS2 that I got from Jalen, um, because I just like having the ability to play games on it in that in that situation where you know it's just that console, that experience. Remember, I forgot that you couldn't even reset the game. You had to turn it off, turn it back on for you to be able to play another game. You can eject, but once you kind of go into that game, I was like, okay, how do I get back to? I had
Yeah.
no idea. So it's kind of those types of situations.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree because I've been looking at oh, my bad, Jalen. Was there one you wanted to mention?
Nah. I mean, some of the old technology is cool. I think the biggest thing for me is some of the feel be all right, but I just always like doing things better. So I haven't really been a big fan of, like there's been times I thought about, hey, I can go buy a PSP just to go get that old feel and stuff with the emulators, all that type of stuff. Or getting like a old GameCube or something to play some of them games. But then I think about it, I'll be like, well, there's no save states on here. I got to play the game the original way. The TV, how's it going to look? Those sorts of things. So I guess I'm kind of the opposite. I think I used to like the old things and stuff, but as I got older, I just like the newer stuff at this point now.
Hmm.
I feel like it still captured that same feel, and I don't need the technology itself in order to do so. So, so I guess I'm kind of, yeah, like I said, kind of opposite of what y'all say.
Yeah. No, because I was at a like a thrift store the other day and I was looking at cassette players, and like there's no reason I would ever need a cassette player and I don't have cassette music, but just like the how the device worked and all the different buttons, like I guess I knew it but I didn't really think about it when I was a kid, but you could record on it like either your voice or you can play another tape and record another tape to copy it to it, and it's like it's just very interesting, like physical technology. And it was like $15, like, oh, I could buy this and it'll collect dust, but it'd just be cool to look at. And then from there, I just been looking at other stuff, and I feel like I want to buy a PS1, like the mini PlayStation One, just because I like how it looked, like it was round and it was white, and like almost the size of just the CD, but it was like an interesting device looking at it. So yeah, I just been looking at a lot of old tech, and I don't know, might start trying to collect stuff that's not too, I guess, um, out there to have. Like I don't need a CRT TV or nothing.
Yeah. No, that's my understanding of it. It's trying to mix a little bit with the old with the new. Just like Jalen said, emulation has become such a big component of a lot of our experience with gaming that it's really not it's not hard to play those fun games that you used to enjoy on the go or in any format you want. I just think having the physical media in itself has some merit to it, even if I don't think it's justifiable at this point in my life where I could play any game that I probably want to through emulation, obviously, as long as you own a copy of it. But it's kind of like that type of thing where I'm like, I don't really know if it's value in
Mhm.
holding on to it, but old technology has always piqued my interest. Innovation has always felt like it was something that I always was, attracted to. So a lot of the, Nintendo consoles I feel like are special because they have so much of a different experience from the rest of the stuff that sometimes that it is a value to hold on to it. But yeah, I can see both sides of that. I think I dabble in both sides of it. So
Mhm.
yeah, like I never buy a Nintendo 64, but that's only because I would never need a Nintendo 64. But and I never
Yeah.
had like a big, but I buy a Dreamcast. It's weird. Anyways,
Mhm.
because they had like the little weird, memory cards. They had little things. I like when people innovate in that way.
Yeah, the memory cards, it had
Yeah.
internet browser on it. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff to like just see that era
Yeah.
uh, other than just trying to play the game. Like, you want to
Yeah.
see the device that was made for it. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I leave that. But let's move on because I didn't even introduce what I've been doing. I haven't been doing much. I've been painting a lot, guys. I got my sunroom all together over the weekend. Been doing a lot of work around the house and things like that. But I was able to play some games. I was able to get Star Wars Outlaws booted up for a pretty decent amount of time. I was able to play a lot of Street Fighter and some Overwatch with friends. I set back up on my Steam Deck Overwatch again because I was like, maybe there's opportunities for me to play this when I don't want to sit in front of the computer. But I started using mouse and keyboard again. It helped my accuracy. Probably gonna keep playing mouse and keyboard. Steam Deck is cool with the little pad, but it's not the same feeling as having a traditional full deck mouse and keyboard. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Just been chilling, playing games, trying to figure out this thing we call life. Uh, but let's get into some games. Anything to add before we move into the first topic?
Nope.
All right, let's get into it then. So Jalen went out and purchased Concord as field research and talk to us about it, Jalen. When you spent that, was that $40?
Uh,
Jalen, you was our field research for Concord the Flop. What was the takeaway?
Remember, I bought that beta and sent it back, man.
No, no, no,
I'm
no.
like,
I heard they pushed that charge through. I heard you got a copy of it yesterday. Or
man,
a
they
couple
tried
days
to,
ago.
bro. They was like, bro, please take this game, bro. They begged me to. They was like, bro, please, can you please take this game, bro? We had less than 1,000 Steam players playing it, bro. Please take the game
Mhm.
and help us out. I'm like, bro, I can't do it, man. Sorry.
You sure about that? I think I'll ask you about that. You sure about that? Like, yes. You
Yeah,
sure? You sure? Yes. Are you sure?
see me
Sure?
online.
Sure?
Y'all gonna see me online playing Concord. You gonna send a party and bubble. Hey Jay, when you playing Concord? He's gonna say today went offline.
All right. All right. All right. Enough jokes. Concord unfortunately did the very worst you could possibly do in regards to a opening weekend for a hero shooter. Barely getting over 1,000. I don't even think it did concurrent players. I think it was peaked at like 700 and something. To kind of give you some perspective, Lord of the Rings Gollum beat it out. I read somewhere. That's kind of insane when you think about it because it's still PlayStation, and I understand that Steam and PlayStation are different, but the fact that this big named took 8 years in the making game comes out to abysmal numbers. If I really feel bad for the people that actually enjoy it, and there's not that many, so I can't really get that mad. But it does feel like this game was dead on arrival. Like this is the definition of dead on arrival. Have we seen it any worse than this? I don't recall. I don't think any other game I've ever seen or have been able to see has come out in this type of form to this amount of numbers and actually make it. No. I think we dissected why Concord failed. I think we dissected a lot through that beta, understanding of what truly sells a hero shooter. And it can be name recognition, but it's mostly character design, the levels, the intrigue of the world. And I thought, Concord could have that in spades, but I feel like it was just a bunch of missteps with this game to the point where I don't even know who to blame. I don't think it's the gameplay design. Heck, I could point to character design as the problem, but honestly, I don't even think it's that. I don't know what the big issue is with Concord, because if I look at Deadlock's characters, I'm not like they're super interesting. Do you see a big difference in like the generalization of characters between Deadlock and this one, or do you think that they are like far more unique? I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but just answer that little snippet.
Yeah, I do actually. Not that I'm praising Deadlock's characters, but when I look at Deadlock, they have a style that they're going for, where I feel like the style that Concord was going for was not good, because I saw people talking about it online where, since they're going for the really, really high realistic looking characters in like this sci-fi armor, they look like cheap cosplay characters instead of somebody who looks cool. Like if you look at the Guardians of the Galaxy, or even the Guardians of the Galaxy game, where the characters like are super high realistic, but they have a unique style. They have different armor. The armor feels sci-fi. The characters feel sci-fi. They don't feel like, people that you took from, models that you brought into the studio and dressed them up in the sci-fi armor. And I feel like that on its own, I guess, is not a fully like clear, like this is why it's wrong. It just, overall, the style isn't exciting to people. So that's why when you look at the characters, nobody cares about them, because there's nothing to draw them to. But that being said, a few characters in the beta that I played, they were fun. They had like different gameplay aspects, but their aesthetic wasn't really pulling me in. That's going to different from person. That's going to be different from person to person. But I feel like overall, the art style of Concord didn't grab anybody.
Yeah, and it's not just the aesthetic that really kills it. I think it's just the lack of intrigue, and the lack of intrigue in this game currently. Like there's still a lot to be said about Deadlock being in this alpha test kit, having 80,000 people wanting to play it, and for Concord barely being able to get over 1,000. Like this is an alpha test that is invite only, and they got that many players playing. So there has to be something else here that is causing this to be such a failure. And I think it was the marketing, honestly. I think that the marketing really did itself no justice, because it kind of came out of, I think aligning themselves with the PlayStation has unequivocally like broken the ability to kind of pull it from being compared to a single player blockbuster. Like nobody can take it and just dissect it for what it is, because it has Sony's name behind it. Our expectations are so high that even if they miss that bar a little bit, it's like the biggest miss in the world. And that's a Sony problem, honestly. I don't feel like Concord would even be doing this bad if it just published on its own. I feel like this is just a negative connotation for being associated with PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it still would have did. There is definitely expectation for it being a first party game, but also the marketing was just bad overall because like they revealed it a year ago. They didn't show any gameplay. They showed just the trailer, and then they actually revealed the gameplay. And I just looked in May, which is 3 months, almost 4 months ago. And so in 4 months, they had maybe two playtests, and then the game is out. And it's like those two playtests people weren't so hot on, and then now all you got to do is just launch the game to no reception. Whereas at least if I think about other games that I don't even know if the game is good, but like X Defiant, like I know I've been hearing about that game for longer, and I've been seeing people having different impressions. So it's like, oh, I didn't like this beta, but the second beta is better, or the fourth beta is better, or whatever. And I think for a multiplayer game, that's the most important thing that you can do is just build up hype for it. And it's like with this 3-4 months, they had no way to build up hype. Maybe they thought when they revealed it, people were going to be excited, and then they can just release the game, but that didn't work. So they didn't even have time to like backpedal because the game is coming out.
Yeah. No, I think that is 100%. That's a great point because it does lack the feeling of a complete rollout from a PlayStation. Like it does lack that. It feels like there is a lot of money paid for the wrong things. Instead of the value that you kind of get with a longer period of a rollout time. Now, I I am still of the belief that this genre of game is dead in a lot of ways. I don't believe this Deadlock changes anything for me. I think Concord as in itself, a hero shooter, has a lot of competition, and most of the time we're not really accepting of new competition, especially when it's from no names that haven't had a reputation of building successful hero shooters. So, Overwatch 2 and Overwatch 1 are both games that kind of built upon itself, and it kind of created it filled a void that we had on the consoles for quite a while. And Overwatch 2 had the momentum simply due to Overwatch 1, and so on and so forth. But as the time has gone on, those numbers into May have dwindled. And what I'm seeing from this genre as of now is a rebranding of itself, but it I don't want to judge it too harshly, but what I'm seeing is that simply enough is that Concord came out at the wrong time. It really shouldn't have taken 8 years to create a competitive shooter that could go head to toe with Overwatch. I don't know about balancing. I don't know about all the good jazz that goes along with that, but they have a ton of characters that feel like they don't really do that much different. They don't do that much different to me to the point where I'm like, I need to be on the lookout for that. And obviously, I only had a slice of the game, so I really have to play it to kind of understand more. But there's really times where you have to be able to display your game in its best way in slices. There shouldn't have to be more time given in order for this game to start to feel fun. I'm hoping, when we talk about it, that wasn't your impression with Deadlock. But again, Concord had a really bad week. I don't expect it to make up for, obviously, the cost that it made to make it. Do you think how long do we think, what's the time frame on before this goes free to play? I say next month.
I'd say that's not gonna happen next month, just because I think it'd probably take them a lot longer to do it. They probably had no plans to make it. How to put it? They're not ready for this release, so they're scrambling to adapt. So I think it's gonna take a little longer to get there. But 6 months is what I would hope, so that it's not like too bad of the situation, so they can bounce back from it. But it could take longer because we've seen other games in the past that went free to play and it took like a year for it to happen or something. So we'll see.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Overwatch 2 is now free to play, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And that was a transition for them because Overwatch 2 you did have to pay, right?
Yeah,
And I
Overwatch
think
1
Overwatch
was
1, you have
$40.
to.
Yeah.
Oh, Overwatch 2 was always free. You just had if you had Overwatch 1, you got the characters for free, right?
Yep. I
Okay.
think that's what happened, right?
Yeah, because
You
if
get the
you start a
characters
brand new
free.
Overwatch account right now, some of the characters are locked because you got to level up.
Yep. So it's it's pretty interesting, man. I really do think that this game is going to be a showcase for a lot of people on what pitfalls to not jump into. And I think that a lot of other games did the same thing. I think Gotham Knights was another one of these that kind of had a spark of hope of trying to get people to transition into these big multiplayer experiences or small multiplayer experiences that just doesn't work anymore. I think that I'm really starting to realize that our lack of ability to play with one another kind of makes these games pointless a lot of times. Like to the point where I know people that were my age that were really deep into Destiny and deep into Apex and deep into these other games like they used to be are moving on, and the newer generation of people will more than likely aren't picking up these games in the same way that others were because it's just not the same. So I feel like there's a lot of this is a transitional period for what a new multiplayer game should be. And if you can't build a battle royale, I think a lot of people were trying to split hairs and kind of create something that was unique, but also in that same vein. Um, and I think that's why we're getting so many of them. But I think people are just testing. I don't really think anybody knows the right formula. I don't even think the one thing I can give Val is that they did their research. They actually probably put the time and effort in that most wouldn't to make sure that the game that they were coming out with had meaning. You understand what I'm saying? Like meaning, not just not even is it fun. It's like what's the meaning behind it? I feel like that's like a big core part of uh sometimes when I play a Valve game or something. Like they kind of take it to another level in regards to what they are trying to accomplish. And even if they're not trying to accomplish something super meaningful with the gameplay, they're trying to accomplish something super meaningful with servers, how everything interacts and things like that. So I just feel like Valve did something special with Deadlock. I ain't played it yet, but I feel like I think they did something special. And I can't wait to kind of play it, but I feel like there's a lot of companies out there right now trying to get a Fortnite win on a smaller scale. And I don't think it's gonna work. So I think we're gonna see about two more of these. I count two more in the next year or two. Big ones like this. That aren't gonna go anywhere because I know they're in development. I know they probably 5 years in. They're like, dang, y'all seen what happened to Concord? Yeah, so we 100% for sure gotta go free to play. Like they definitely making some adjustments. Um, and I think Halo did the right thing because Halo at first you just had to pay for the Halo to kind of do it, but then they switched it to where you can get the multiplayer for free and do like the battle pass, right? Or was that? I don't think it was always like that. I thought they changed it like after the first showing where they was like we're gonna split the multiplayer up and make it free to play. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I remember happening. And I think it was smart regardless of what they thought they were going to do. I think that was the smart move because in this day and age, there's way too many options on how to shoot somebody else. And it's just the skinny of it, man. But I'm
Yeah,
rambling.
I think
Go ahead.
Now, I was about to say, again, it's a common trend. Y'all probably tired of hearing this, but it's a very common trend. I think with the combination of inflation and people not having as much time, with us being built on the us we're used to paying for games. I think the newer generation isn't as used to paying for games. But we're lacking the time. And then you got other games that's free to play, like Fortnite and those sorts of things. It's kind of a little bit harder to sell like a multiplayer only game. So I think Halo did the right thing. Obviously we're seeing more free to play games coming out. I know Concord, I felt like they was really in the middle of like, hey, let's make a multiplayer game, but let's see if we can still get some cheese off of it. So they gave a $40 price point, but it just didn't feel like, at least y'all could, maybe y'all might have felt the same, y'all might have felt different. I felt like when I seen that $40 price point, they was trying to play in the middle, be like, let's see if we can get some cheese off of it. But we we don't want to make it a free to play game, but we might do a little bit better. But let's just try to make a price point a little bit better and go essentially like less than the $70 price point. So I
Yeah,
think that's what they tried to do, but again, it just didn't stick. And like we had talked about, the various reasons of why it potentially didn't stick. So, um,
yeah,
but I just wanted to say that a little bit. So,
yeah, man. It's unfortunate, but it is life, and that's kind of what you do. You kind of take gambles, you win or lose sometimes, and I think that is significant, loss on Sony's part at this point in time. But I think rolling that up into something special or like I said, kind of, I think there's something there. They have to figure out what that something is and how to market it. Regardless of what they think people want to play right now, it's going to have to be adjusted and transitioned into the model of what people are willing to do today. Because, as you stated, most people will play the same game for hours on end because that is their game. That is what they enjoy to do. They're not bouncing around. They don't have the budget to bounce around like certain people do, and the people that do have the budget don't have time. So I do think Microsoft is unfortunately has a lot to do with the new generation not wanting to buy new games, but at the same time, Microsoft is also the only one that is equipped to transition into this new phase of gaming. Because I do not believe people are actually going to begin owning their games sooner or later. I think that's going to be a really, really rare thing to own your game. I think it's going to be very much so a combination of free to play and subscriptions and how you access them, um, and kind of using like a pot of cash to fund it. I don't want that to go away, but it just seems like the more and more I look at the landscape, the more and more I see most people only playing free to play games. And yeah, Wukong was an anomaly. They did a crazy amount of numbers. I just don't think that is the norm for new single player experiences. I don't think Star Wars Outlaws is getting those types of numbers right now. And I just feel like the only way they're pulling in eyeballs is through um, subscriptions. And then maybe, I think what's going to happen, don't shoot the messenger, but y'all going to start getting advertisements in today's game. And not the non-intrusive one. I'm talking about those heavy ones. You know how you pause Paramount and then they pop up this whole ad just sitting there while you're on your pause menu. Those type of intrusive. So I don't like it, but it seems like there is no recourse to combating people that want stuff for free. Is there? Like,
No, there's no
I
reason
mean,
for
they got
any
battle passes.
shooter. There's no reason for any shooter going forward to come out with a price tag if you're not Call of Duty. Like
yeah,
even Battlefield failed to hit its numbers. Like they had their own issues with like balance and servers and stuff. But Battlefield, which used to be the biggest Call of Duty competitor, is now not even top 10 shooter, and they still want their $60-$70 whenever they come out, and they barely get it. So it's like, yeah, if you're not Call of Duty, there's no reason to release with whatever any money price tag, because the whole point of the, how to put it, the gaming landscape now is full of free to play games, and the thing about free to play games is if they are good, they never go away. So
Yeah.
you might, even though Destiny is old and people are not so hot on it, Destiny still exists and it's still free. Fortnite still exists, it's still free. They can have a bad season, they can have a bad year. It's still free, and whatever you're putting out has to compete with those games. It has to compete with games that came out 10 years ago. It has to compete with games that came out 2 weeks ago. So Concord coming out, we got a 4-month press release, press rollout, and we charging $40. You compete with Destiny, you compete with Counter-Strike, you compete with Deadlock, which was in beta, but they opened it up to the public the same day that Concord came out. So it's like every Concord was fighting an uphill battle that it was never going to win, for all of its own decisions, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
because I would definitely step in and try it, but it's not like I'm going to spend any money. Like that is how I think that is the formula to get people in, but it,
yeah,
I
like
don't want
just
it to
looking
be
at Twitch,
just.
it's
Mhm.
all the free to play games. I mean, all the top 20 games, most of them are free to play. Like it's obviously Black Myth Wukong, you pay for it, but other than that, you got Zenless Zone Zero, Genshin Impact, Valorant, Overwatch, League of Legends, Apex Legends, Counter Strike, Deadlock. These are Fortnite. The top 20 games on Twitch right now, free to play. So
Yeah.
uh, take that how you want, developers. But if you're putting out a shooter, it needs to be free to play. If you're putting out a single player game or a PvP game, maybe there's some sort of in between, like Helldivers. I think Helldivers was an anomaly, but still
Yes.
they had a core game that was fun and it was $40. If somebody else has a similar thing where you have a fun gameplay loop that people like, maybe you want to charge a little money for it because it's a single player focus, cool. Because you can try to dig out your own space in the genre as a PvE game or a single player game. Or if you're a multiplayer game, you're you're not gonna um you're not gonna stand out, unfortunately. So that price tag needs to help you stand out.
Yes.
So let me ask y'all this. Concord was $40. You got free to play games, you got $70 games. If a game came out and they charge you, let's just go below. If they charge you anything, $5, $10, $20, like no more than $20, would that make y'all more inclined to try the game? I can answer
Like,
for me. I'd be like, I don't think I still want to try the game. I don't even buy the battle pass. You know what I mean? So granted, I can still play the game without the battle pass, but I don't think I would. I don't think I'd still try the game unless I had a strong urge that I knew that y'all was gonna buy the game. So
Yeah, the barrier
I
entry
think I'm
is
probably the same.
always going to be a
yeah, the barrier
factor.
entry is the biggest
And it's surprising. Yeah,
factor.
because it's nothing about the game itself that is like super terrible. It's just not engaging enough to get me to want to go over that hurdle of barrier. That barrier basically. It is the simple
Even if
fact
it's
that
$5, $10.
if it's $10, that is different because I'm looking at it from the perspective
Okay.
of what content now is that truly going to that $10 is going to earn me. Is it going to earn me the story port beats of the game? Is it going to earn me a solidified and like content plan or rollout or downloadable content later? What is it providing me outside of just the ability to play this game? And that's where you factor in the whole, well, it's $10, so I could buy this, that, and the third. Is kind of comparing it to other things. That's why I was okay with doing the Ubisoft Uplay for Star Wars because I knew the barrier entry was low versus what they would truly want for a game of that caliber. And we're gonna talk about it, but that is something that kind of is um, a problem due to Netflix, Hulu, Microsoft, and how they have adjusted our brains to kind of be accepting
Instant.
of like that lower barrier of entry, but not accepting a full price anymore.
Yeah,
that is a problem they have to solve for if they want to go back to a model that was previous, because they never going to do that again, to me at least. I just don't
yeah,
have enough games in me to ever want to pay upfront that price point, because it just doesn't make sense. Like that's why Sony hasn't gotten a game out of me in years. It's been like since God of War Ragnarok. But and that's simply due to the fact that it's just not doesn't make sense to me anymore. And it's not that the game isn't good. It's just that doesn't make sense to me anymore, because I know it's going to drop in price in a year and a half from now, and I can play it then.
yeah.
So
I would say price is a factor, but even if Concord was $10, price is not the only factor. It's also time and
yes,
also your own enjoyment. If a game is free to play, I don't mind downloading it, playing it for 4 minutes, and then deleting it. Like that's most of my experience with a lot of free play games. But when I gotta spend money on it, even if I can get a refund like through Steam, maybe I don't want to go through the whole process of buying it, downloading it, playing it, deleting it, asking for a refund. Like that, and that's the easiest process in the world, actually. Like it's very easy to get a refund on Steam games. But um but it's a whole bunch of games on my Steam list that are under $10 that I haven't bought yet because I don't have the time to play them.
yeah,
So at least removing one barrier will get more people in.
hmm
um but yeah, there are always other factors. Like the price is not the only problem with Concord, but it's probably one of the biggest hurdles for most people. If it was
yes,
free, you at least have more people willing to try it out, and if they're playing it, maybe they like it, maybe they tell their friends to download it and play it. But you can't do that because now you got to tell your friends to go out and buy it.
yeah, and that's tough. And the only thing that can get that still get that recognition and the value, I think, is, as Josh stated, Call of Duty, where somebody's like, you getting a new duty, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Outside of,
one other thing.
yeah,
My bad. One other thing I was gonna mention with the kids is, like, I mean, we older now, and the younger kids playing games. A lot of them play socially. Like they get on Fortnite because their friends are on Fortnite. They got a bunch of people in Discord that they play Fortnite with. Same thing with Overwatch and stuff like that. So a lot of them new games have to appeal to that mindset as well, where you're in high school and you kind of just playing with like an online community. Back in the day we had like Xbox uh live parties and stuff like that where you could speak to friends and just randomly play with people. But a lot of games like Concord are not catering to Gen Z. I guess they're still trying to get our generation.
yes.
And like Deontay said, maybe our generation are moving on to other stuff.
Yeah, it really is. It really is that. I feel like that is what the case is. I still don't think that. I think that with us and the people that are playing games that can afford to buy into the game are very picky now. We are the
Hmm.
pickiest of the gamers. We do not respect newcomers in the way that we respect the legendary. Like, again, Call of Duty, because they have so many, because they had this stint of going over crossing all generations, and all generations either will have or attempted or played a Call of Duty, and that is how they continue to hold their value throughout the years. Where these other games like Destiny, they do not have the ability to pull the new gen in, because they are still catering to those very picky people. And that is what it's going to always be. Like, this game is trying to cater to very picky people. And I think they need to lower the realms to allow the picky people to try it, but also those Gen Z people to jump in and try it, because it really does allow a cross uh it just allows those to kind of intertwine and come to an head there. So it's as if they're getting the best of both worlds, because again, those picky people like myself and others, we're going to try to go to the best thing that's possibly out there to play in that genre versus giving anything else a shot. And I think a lot of people's mindset is that way because our time is super important to us now versus that one Gen Z individual that's going to play it and stream it, love it, and kind of keep talking about it to kind of continue to build that momentum for a game. So Concord itself shot itself in the foot because it, one, catered to us, and two, did not come with a low barrier of entry. That's really the two things that I see kind of causing a big flop. I mean, you can't tell me my little brother probably could have bought 20 video games over the course of the year, but it all went to Fortnite V-Bucks because that's all he plays. That's all he cares about. So I think that there is now games and then there's platforms. And I think a lot of people are pushing towards a platform versus a game because it's just something that they have grew up with. It has, and I think Fortnite was really one of the, it was on the edge of being too kiddie and too adult. So it's like it really helped that they kind of cater to both the both part, I guess, both populations. So yeah, it is a gambling thing. It is a gamble to kind of trust yourself in like the what you built. But at the end of the day, I think Concord itself had a flawed approach to who they wanted to market to, and then they had a flawed approach on who was actually willing to buy and pay for this game. So, two things really killed it for me. And I think that's why I say it's going to go free to play real soon. And it may go through PlayStation Plus, but it's going to allow people that have PlayStation Plus to also play it. And it could, if they crazy, they could put it in Game Pass. I could see that game being put in Game Pass and striking a deal with Microsoft because they will take it. Because you know what that signalizes? PlayStation games are coming to Xbox. And I think that would actually help this freaking game. Simply because there's a vast audience of people that's on the Sony, on PlayStation, on Xbox side that doesn't have that many unique, I guess, hero shooters per se, Game Pass, and then on PC. I'm not saying not go to Xbox PC Game Pass yet, but just PC Game Pass. And then also the same thing for utilizing, I don't know, maybe they even put it in like a Uplay or something. I don't know. Whatever subscription kind of crosses all platforms. That is what they need to try to do if they don't want to switch their model entirely and just find a way to lower the barrier of entry. That is what I see them doing soon. I see them doing that to save their game. If that doesn't make sense to them, they just probably doing bad business. I think they need to save the game first before they can start to change it to make it better for the future. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on Concord. Y'all got anything else to add?
Nope.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing.
All right. Let's move on then to Star Wars. Star Wars Outlaw. You said you booted it up. How far you get, Josh?
Just run around the first town, doing missions, run away from people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's how can I put this? They definitely did not do themselves any justice with the game. I think that it's simply it's a big game, but it's condensed in a way that makes sense as you play the loop. I wouldn't say that it's a super expansive loop, but it is a loop worth playing, if that makes sense. I feel like Star Wars Outlaw in itself has really good set moments, really good voice acting. I feel like the the setup for the game, the storyline. I feel like I'm super intrigued by it. I did not expect that. I felt like Ubisoft actually stepped up their cookies and did a meaningful uplift to their cinematics. I don't usually get this from Ubisoft, so I'm really appreciative that they kind of met the challenge. I'm not saying that it's level and class like Jedi Survivor or anything like that, but I'm saying that there is a level of uptick here that is presentable and reasonable for what type of game you're playing. A large, expansive, open world game. So, Star Wars Outlaws for me came in and actually was a good game. That's really the key here. Star Wars Outlaw is an actual good game. It's not a 10 out of 10, not from what I played. I can't give it a 10 out of 10, but it has cool mechanics, has cool ways you interact with the world. It has cool card games, it has cool mini games, it has cool things that go on in this world. I love the way you walk around and people just start talking and I just stop and listen to what they got to say, and then something pops up on my feed to say, maybe you want to check this out. I really appreciate the detail to how you present information. Because God Almighty, if I had a tower I had to climb, or if it was anything that gave me any resemblance of a Ubisoft game, I would sit up here and tell you. The only thing that really does feel like, only thing that really does feel like it's a Ubisoft game is when you start to look at some of the moment to moment action, and where you can tell that it's very much so like really keen on the, I guess, Watch Dogs-esque moment to moment combat. I would say that. I feel like it's more Watch Dogs because it's third party and that's kind of a similar approach. But to me, again, there was three key factors that I wanted to make sure happened. The story seemed decent, graphics were good, and it was a comparable experience to any other AAA game. And I think it checks all three boxes. Graphics wise, I haven't had any crashes. I'm running full ray tracing at ultra settings on my 7900 XTX, which is normally not something I can do with FSR 3. I don't know which implementation, but it seems like it's the best implementation. I'm thinking it's running on 3.2 or 3.3. But FSR 3 looks really good. Frame generation works, but I turned it off because it was like doing like this weird effect on some of the things, so I just turned it off. But graphically, it's up there in regards to quality. I'm not saying that there was no bugs. I didn't see nothing during my little five. I think I played for like 6 hours. I didn't see any bugs, but it definitely passed that test with flying colors for me. The last thing was just a comparable, and I would have to have a comparable experience to other AAA games. And that is what I do get as well. I feel like there's a lot of value in the open world. I feel like there's a lot of value in being able to go straight into space with no loading screen. And I feel like there's a lot of value in the particular moment-to-moment conversations. So right now, I'm happy. I'm not saying that it can't get repetitive. I can already tell where there could be particular things that starts to repeat itself that I may get bored of. But I heard that this is only a 20-hour game, so I do not expect to be halfway or 25% through it and not already, I don't feel bored of it. I don't feel like it's already being too, overly weird or something that I'm just like seeing constantly, which gives me a lot of hope that this is going to be one of those games that actually helps Ubisoft's reputation versus hurts it. But yeah, I definitely would say that this is really close to a experience I would have got on Jedi Survivor. I'm not saying that the set pieces and moment to moment actions are like apples to apples, but what I will say is that Ubisoft had an uptick and you can see it. So that is Star Wars Outlaws for me right now. But we were talking about this earlier, and as I stated, I did pay the $15. I think it's $17.99 to play Uplay a Premium Plus for a month. I tend to beat this within the month. And honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna just hold on to my subscription. To be honest, I just feel like maybe I want to try Shadows, and then they got DLC already announced for Star Wars. But that is a way to get me into a game I was never going to pick up, and that is the value of the subscription. I'm not saying that it's the best way to go about buying games. I'm saying that this is the way for me to go about getting a game into a game and lowering that barrier of entry because one, will I have time? I got to make time. Two, yeah, should I just wait and just pay for it later? But this is a way for me to get a healthy medium. You get some of my money. I don't own the game. I get to rent it for $17. That's way more expensive than Blockbuster. And all you gotta do is shoot me some download. They don't really have much overhead here. This is a way for them to continue to allow people to get their eyeballs on a game, allow them to try it. It's like paying somebody. I understand what we think a sale of a game is, but to me, a sale is a sale. I don't need the whole price. I don't need the whole ticket, my baby. I just need you to pay something for what I just put out. And if I can get plenty of you to pay something versus one of you to pay a lot, I'm taking that every day. I'm not going to, I ain't sugarcoating it. I feel like everybody feels like somebody's taking a massive hit, but the game is not in the market. The game is not physical media. They can revoke the license and you still, only your eyeballs witnessed it. It's not like everybody's huddling up 20 people like to play a game. This is a way for them to penetrate the market in a way that's smart and actually makes sense. I feel like I have to defend subscription sometimes because it is such a negative connotation of what a game should be. But honestly, this is value to me. This is value to the owner of the game. This is value to everyone in this situation. I don't think that we should shun it because I don't own the game per se. I think that subscriptions are there for a reason. Renting has always been around. If you're a Blockbuster person, you probably know about renting a game and taking it back. You don't own the physical media, but you enjoyed your experience. I think this is the same model, but this is a model that is going direct to player. And as long as they continue to hold on to that, they probably will put GameFly out of business very soon. Everybody will. It's not much value there, GameFly. I mean, you can understand why. But that is, in my thought process, I'm talking all the Star Wars, but a good way to kind of try these new games without having to put too much money. And that's how I'm probably going to try Shadows. And if I don't like it, and I'm not interested in playing anything at that moment, yeah, y'all got my 17, but y'all didn't get my 70. So that is great for both parties, in my opinion. So yeah. Anywho's, in regards to Star Wars, in regards to subscription models, anything to add or early impressions of Star Wars or what you've seen? There's a lot of coverage going on out there. So give me your thoughts.
Yeah, like I was saying, so far I'm enjoying the world that Ubisoft built. I think a lot of, at least reviewer impressions I talked about, they say that the other cities and just the overall vibe feels very good. And I think that's good because even from Assassin's Creed and Prince of Persia, like just world design has been Ubisoft's strong point. Gameplay wasn't always their strong point. But at least they can build a nice, believable world with big buildings and stuff like that. Kind of fell off when it came to like NPCs and stuff like that, and I can kind of still see that with Star Wars, where all the animations aren't the greatest or the face animations aren't the greatest, but just overall, I'm enjoying walking around the world, and I want to see more. Like it didn't like turn me off from playing for like a hour or so. So I'm gonna continue with it. And I also got the subscription service, one because I'm playing it on PC, and I don't actually know if I want to own games on Ubisoft's launcher. So that's actually why I got it I'm subscribed to it because once I'm done with it, I don't have to use their launcher anymore. Yeah, that being said, yeah, it's a convenient model. I wanted to try out the Prince of Persia game, but I haven't bought it yet. But once I finish this, if I still have time in my subscription, I'll try that out too. I still would have preferred to buy it on Steam.
Yeah.
But Ubisoft games, well, not all Ubisoft games are on Steam, but maybe later in the far future, if it's on a big discount and it's on Steam, maybe I'll pick it up to keep it in my collection, you know. But yeah, that's how I feel about Ubisoft on PC.
The good thing about Ubisoft is that they have one cloud save. So if I picked up Prince of Persia on Steam, the cloud save that I upload can be utilized
To bring it
elsewhere.
over. Okay.
Yes. So they do offer that in Prince of Persia and they do offer it in Outlaws. And that is how I plan to own those games later down the line. Is when they have all their DLC come out, and if I decide to pick it up on Steam, move my save over and that I think they have this understanding of how people want to operate. They don't want to be restricted, but they definitely don't want to they don't want to miss out on the FOMO, I guess, of fear of not being able to play their game first day one. So there is value in what they're doing mechanically to bridge that gap. So there's an option there for you as well. So if you can go, you can play it all the way through and then take that save, upload it to the cloud, and then move it over, which I think is a great concept for most games should have, especially when you're moving from, console to console, PC to PC, and platform to platform. So, yeah. But anywho's, what about you, Jalen? You gonna get up some Star Wars Outlaws? I know you ain't play that Jedi Survivor, and it's pretty free right now. So that barrier entry is pretty low, and you still haven't tried it. So, what about that Star Wars Outlaws?
Man, I beat the first one. Don't do me.
Man, no, don't do it. I'm still gonna do you. Go ahead.
I mean, y'all know how I feel about Ubisoft, but I mean, like you said, it's a little refreshing that you ain't climbing to go get a viewpoint. Or you're like, see some reuse assets and stuff like that, right?
No reused assets. It doesn't feel like used. There is some
Yeah.
floatiness to the wind and how it works, but that's a great thing to pull over from what's it called? Avatar, Pandora's what is it? Pandora's Box or something like that. I don't remember, but that was the Avatar game that recently came up.
Yeah, I mean, I try it if it's some way to free to play. I'm not, about to pay for nothing. I give it a shot. I mean, if you got a good impression on it and it's Ubisoft, I mean, I go with that. I'm not against Ubisoft or anything. I just don't be liking the products that they made. So the fact that they did something different and you enjoy it, I'd be inclined to try as long as the barrier entry as well.
Yeah. Nah. Same thing with a lot of that stuff. So, definitely check it out. See if you will enjoy it, because there is it's a good coverage going out there right now. At least on a lot of the different ways to play it. So, yeah, definitely check it out if you're interested, for sure. Me though, I get the stamp of approval. All right, let's move on though. Let's move into Deadlock. Maybe I can stop talking for a little bit because I didn't play it. So I'm gonna pass it over to my esteemed panelist Josh, where he kind of walks us through what Deadlock is and how's it play.
Yeah. So Deadlock was that leaked hero shooter from Valve that we talked about on the podcast before. And I think over the last weekend they lifted the they officially revealed it, because people have been talking about the game for a couple months, but it's all been rumors and leaks. But Valve actually announced it. You can see it on Steam. You can watch the trailer. Well, it's not even popular because the game is super early. So what I'll say is that Deadlock is a hero style shooter. made by Valve. It has like a sort of Dishonored sense, like 1950s style or something like that, but everybody got like a magical or like spectral powers. And it, from what I played, it's interesting. So it's actually not Overwatch. Like it's not a hero shooter really. It's a shooter and it has heroes, but the actual gameplay is League of Legends. Because the game is split into different lanes. I think there are 4 lanes on the map, and there are a bunch of minions that walk down the lanes. You protect the minions and you shoot the other minions till you get to their like golem. And your goal is to have your minions help you defeat their golem. And in that time, there might be other players walking around trying to stop you, but you're not actually spending most of your time shooting at other players. You're spending most of your time shooting at the minions and the golems. There's also the characters have levels, so as you kill the minions, you get experience, and you use that experience to upgrade your abilities. And the minions also drop money, and you use that money to go back to the base to buy item upgrades like you do in League of Legends, which are literally like regenerating health or double ammo capacity or higher crit rate. And the shop has like literally 100 items in there that you can buy to have a different build based on your character. So anyways, you're playing the game, you shoot the minions. Every now and then another player will come up, and so the gameplay as far as like the PvP feels okay, but it doesn't really feel like that's the main focus, at least in my opinion, because a lot of the abilities, even though it's still in beta, a lot of the abilities feel very powerful, not OP, but they're like very oppressive. For example, there's a lady with a minigun. She can walk pretty fast with the minigun. Everybody has like a dodge roll and an air dodge and a double jump. But she's walking with her minigun. She's got a bunch of bullets. She's shooting at you, and then one of her special abilities is there's like there are missiles on her backpack, and it just shoots out missiles for like 20 seconds. Like it's not even 5 seconds like Farah does. It's like she's shooting missiles at your location. They fly up in the air and they fall down on you for 20 seconds, and she can keep walking and aiming in different places because it's meant to be damaging and oppressive to keep the person out of that location so that the minions or whatever can move forward. So all of it, most of the characters I played feel like that. We all have different abilities that are meant to be strong, not meant to be like Overwatch, where it's like they're kind of trying their best to meticulously balance each character. So Mei does 20 damage against Genji, but that's too strong, so we're gonna bump Mei down to 18 damage so that Genji doesn't die instantly and blah blah blah. It doesn't feel like they're doing that. It's meant to be more powerful, to have a bigger impact on the moment-to-moment gameplay, at least.
Right.
Yeah. So far, what I played, it's fun. It's very early. A lot of the characters are not even fully textured. Like they'll have like a gun or their jacket and shit. The character has a yellow jacket. The jacket is all yellow. Like it has no details. It has no buttons or zippers or anything on there. It's just yellow. So it's still pretty early, I would say, but it's fun. It's meant to be played with keyboard and mouse, so I'm honestly not that good at it because I don't play keyboard and mouse. But yeah, from what I say, it's fun. The characters, it's like 20 different characters. They're all like weird. There's a guy made of fire and he shoots fire. He makes like a fire not a fire, my bad. He makes pistol fingers. Like he shoots it, put his fingers out like a pistol and shoots fire from his hands. There's another character like Mei who can freeze people, but her ability is I'm sorry, his ability is like he has a freeze gun like Mei, but he could jump in the air and skate in the air like Frozone from The Incredibles. So you're literally in the air skating above the fight, shooting down ice blocks at people. So everybody feels unique, even though their character designs are pretty, I'd say like familiar, you know, like kind of 1950s people with like a big a mob jacket and a big top hat or something like that. But the characters' abilities feel fun at least.
Okay.
But have y'all seen anything about the game since it's been out? I know the first thing I saw was that Valve revealed it on the same day that Concord came out, and so that kind of just killed all momentum that was left for Concord because now people can stream it on Twitch instead of Concord.
Yeah. That's the only thing I saw as well, outside of a quick like piece on one I think it was I'm trying to remember the streamer. It was a streamer that basically was kind of giving it praise, simply enough that it looked good, played good, and they think that it's going to be a really enjoyable game. But so it's in alpha. You're saying that some of that stuff is not done. Is there any menus in regards to Battle Pass or anything like that right now up and running?
No, right now there's like the tutorial section, and then when you look at the characters, you can read their abilities. There is another tab that's grayed out that's called equipment, but I don't know if that's cosmetic or if that's some sort of like a preset build like that you can
Oh, okay.
a save for when you go in the game, you just quickly buy the stuff that you want or something like that. I don't know how that goes. There's also a progression tab, so there's something to unlock, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not available yet. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's really good. It definitely clears up my thoughts around it being an Overwatch killer. Because that does sound like a very different type of game. Um, and there's value in both. Like I said, I was expecting Valve to have a different approach and a meaning behind their game that they put out. So I'm eager to check it out. I got it downloaded, and so I'm looking forward to jumping in and seeing what it is about. One thing that worries me is that you said keyboard and mouse, and I was like, what? What did he say? I really don't understand that whole concept of not having like it's I'm assuming it has controller support, but it's like bad. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, it's bad controller support where every time you move and stuff, the UI will jitter and stuff because it's taking the controller input as the keyboard. So you
Okay.
press A, but it's really pressing one on the keyboard or something. So the UI it kind of like jitters because it does have the gamepad buttons available in the UI, but they're not really set up. And I also think people say that it doesn't work on the Steam Deck like at all. It doesn't accept the inputs.
That's
So yeah,
insane.
it's still early. It's not ready yet.
Okay. I'm assuming the gaming team doesn't really interact with the hardware team. But yeah, that's kind of interesting, and I definitely want to check it out. Any thoughts on Deadlock, Jalen? Overwatch is safe. Ash is safe. Any thoughts?
I mean, I don't care about them being safe because I don't feel safe when I'm playing that game. But I ain't got no thoughts. The tryhards be going too crazy, but yeah,
Yeah.
I ain't got no thoughts. Like I said, I mean, Josh made the game sound like it's appealing. I'd be more than inclined to give it a try. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Especially with that freeness. That free always helps. But yeah, I'm
How much
definitely
is it? Free 99? What did he say?
I'm looking forward to actually jumping into it as soon as we're done here so I can check it out, see what it's about. But yeah, let's talk about our last topic. I kind of added at the very end because I heard Metaphor Fantazio, and I didn't realize that they had a marketing budget.
What he
Marketing?
say?
No, they
Oh,
had a marketing campaign with Xbox. And that the fact that they were like not mentioning that this is coming to PS5, I had no clue. But I think somebody on Forbes, they did an article about it. Um, I don't think that was the move, to be honest. I don't really think that they got the awareness out there. I can now see how Metaphor has been very much so not getting the press that it usually does. Is that simply due to it not being on PlayStation? Like, not being marketing as a PlayStation game. Because I really do feel like this is probably one of the most slept on releases of a Persona. I feel like Persona 3 had more interest, but maybe it's just because it's a new IP. Like, what do y'all think when y'all like? Have you guys had a lot of interaction with uh advertisement and campaigning for Metaphor?
Um, I'll just go real quick. Just overarching before all that, I feel like games just in general, like it could be because of the space that I'm on the internet, but I felt like some of the marketing and advertisements for the games and stuff that's been coming out lately hasn't been as strong as I remember them being before. So to answer your question with this game, I mean, I've seen some things about it, but I mean, I feel like I definitely heard more about Persona 5 and I heard about Persona 3 more than I heard about this one. So I don't know if it's necessarily because of the association with Xbox. I guess that could be a plot point, but I had mentioned that overarching point because I just felt like marketing for a lot of games just in general hasn't been as strong as they have been in the past. And I don't know if that's because of like cost or maybe my interaction with the internet, my algorithm and things that's going on or what. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that you has it's two parts to that. But what about you, Josh?
Yeah, there's a aspect of it with it being exclusive because I always see on YouTube that Xbox has a like Metaphor reveal next Tuesday or something like that, and I see the countdown. I don't really watch it because I'm personally I don't need to see any more gameplay of it, but they do have those sort of reveals. But I don't think it's necessarily hurting it too much because PlayStation also has those same trailers. It's just they don't have the world reveal, but it'll go up later that day on PlayStation channel. So it there is that aspect of it, but I guess it would just have to be more visible at like game shows and stuff like that. But I don't think they've had that same sort of visibility. They're just relying on Xbox showcases or whatever they call in their reveals that Xbox does.
Hmm. Okay.
did did Xbox Showcase even show that game?
I feel
Uh.
like I saw a trailer for it at some point, but no, I don't think it's had a big showing recently from Xbox at like a big event.
Mm, okay.
Yeah, I think I was, and I'm thinking of it from the fact that I had no idea that they were pushing for the marketing campaign for this. I just thought that it was another. So I just feel like is there a necessarily a need for it? But I can understand when they just had a partnership with the Persona 3 Reloaded coming straight to Game Pass. I'm pretty sure they got a buttload of money for that, and I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
they had to add in some additional incentives there, maybe being one of those that the next game you come out with will be marketed through the Xbox channels versus more so PlayStation. So that makes sense because they want people to buy their games on that system. But I don't know how impactful it has been to um, good or bad. You know what I'm saying? I just think that it was. I didn't even notice it. I didn't know that was happening. So I did
Mhm.
notice when it first was revealed on them. I just didn't know that was a continuation of going like forward. So okay. Um, well, that was it
Um,
for me.
I know
But
we're gonna
go ahead.
wrap up. There was one other thing about Xbox I was gonna bring up. If y'all have seen the talk online about developers, we talked about it before, but developers complaining about Xbox um consoles. So I'll preface it. So there's a guy on Twitter that I follow, and you probably have seen articles about him before because I guess everybody like crawling through his Twitter for tweets all the time since he always got stuff to say. But I think his name is Dale Walker on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked for Rocksteady and worked on Suicide Squad and stuff like that. I follow him because he's one of the I guess prominent black artists in the game industry. So I follow a lot of them. But recently, this week he just came out and tweeted, was like, man, I just hate that the Series S exists because it caused so many problems with development. And if it didn't exist, you would see a lot more. Well, my bad. I don't want to get his tweet all wrong, but basically, he hates the Series S because it causes development problems. And then from there, some articles picked it up and they were, spreading it around and stuff. And he elaborated a bit, and it's basically that the Series X is really good, but the Series S causes problems with development where they have to reduce the enemy count or other stuff like that, and it's always an issue because of that console. And then he was talking about Wukong, where it's like, well, you see that the developers of Wukong said that the reason why it's not on the Xbox right now because they had a memory leak issue, and the memory leak issue he speculated is most likely because of the Series S, because having a weaker CPU and GPU is going to cause issues where memory is a problem. So, uh, do you feel like there is a noticeable lack of support for Xbox, I guess, because of the Series S? Or do
100%.
you think that that's the main factor?
100%. No, I don't really. There's no reason, no need to sugarcoat it. I feel like the Xbox Series S is the definitive baseline for the consoles, and because that is the definitive baseline, it causes all development to kind of be a problem, especially if you're pursuing the higher end, but you're also in the back of your mind having to continue to develop for the lower end, and that lower end isn't going to get met with optimization. It's literally a hardware situation. It's a limitation. Not saying that games can't be, it can't be optimized properly to run on that, but that is building a game from ground up in optimization, thinking that way versus how people normally do it, where they take something, downgrade it, and tweak some specs, tweak some certain settings to kind of get it to run. This is a memory issue where you're dealing with one portion and going down to a lower portion, and that lower portion doesn't have enough to run that said particular engine or something like that. It's just
Mm.
it's kind of it's just a difficult situation to be in. But my thing is that people want the hardware to be running offline, and that is the cheapest way to get to new games. I understand the value and the earnest they kind of put on their games, like Microsoft, because they want them to run on a Series S and the Xbox Series X well. That I feel like their level of optimization is a cut above a lot of the rest, and that makes me feel good because that tells me that they're looking at it from, we want all people to have access to games. We don't want to cut off people in regards to their gaming due to the fact that they can't afford the highest end. That's why you have even lower barriers of entry where now you can stream your games with a Fire Stick. And all you need is an internet connection and a controller, because they want that barrier to entry to be pretty much it's non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to continue, in my opinion, they're going to continue this trend of providing a offline hardware based computing system that may be lower end than their highest tier. And that's totally fine with me. I feel like through optimization, creating a system that probably runs Windows 11 or dual boots into a kernel or OS that operates very similar to a PC will allow it to continue to improve and optimize their games and how they run, because at the end of the day, they own Microsoft. And well, Microsoft owns Xbox, so they have the capacity and the wherewithal to kind of continue to optimize and improve. Whereas on the other end, that box that they get is the box that they have, and I think that it's it's going to become better for me as a person that has scalability between a handheld, my PC, and my Xbox to be able to scale these games to run more efficiently. Whereas PC games that's being ported from the PlayStation 5 may not have that same experience because they're not built in that same way. So Xbox is going to have the added benefit of doing the work early. That's what I'm trying to get at. They're doing the work early to kind of continue to build themselves in a different light than what Sony probably could because they just don't have the infrastructure. So
Do you
I think it's definitely a hindrance, but it's the right hindrance. That's the thing.
so it's the right hindrance because
Correct.
okay,
You got to do more
yeah,
with less. That's all this is. Like all everybody in life, that's all we worried about. Do more with less. If you can, then you found the key to the world. Basically, you do more with less. I think that's really the key concept here. They have to figure out a
but
way to do it.
do you feel like the big games always skipping Xbox because of this will cause more of a problem? Because like I my bad, I wanted to get the tweet correct just so I didn't misquote the man.
Right.
Uh, I wish the Series S never existed, man. So annoying to optimize for that console. I expect we will unfortunately see more game launches get skipped by Xbox in the future. And that was in response to people talking about Final Fantasy 16, Black Myth Wukong, and other games skipping on Xbox.
Yeah.
And so even they're like you said, they're building a infrastructure, but they got to sacrifice a bunch of games. So is it worth it?
Yeah, because Nintendo do the same thing. Like Xbox is going to be their own platform with way more games than any other game could ever kind of contribute to make them beneficial. I think at some point we're going to see the culmination of a full Xbox lineup that it doesn't matter what these other companies are doing. They own enough. So my thing is that they're going to continue to improve and optimize their games to run through a plethora of systems and others will not. That is my that is my justification for the lack of power that they have provided themselves. They gave themselves a hurdle for no reason. Well, it was a big
Mhm.
reason, but they gave themselves that hurdle, that target to continue to improve their streamlined approach to optimization, their approach to game development, their approach to hardware development. Like that is their keys. Like they're starting to really integrate software into how we run our games. Now I'm not saying that every technique is great and powerful and sweet, but I'm saying that
Mhm.
this is their key to unlocking capabilities that we have not seen yet. And that is how you become better doing more with less. So
Okay. What about
that's my
you,
thought.
Jalen? You
So,
agree?
just real quick. So since you talked to Phil Spencer about all this type of thing, not
Yeah, I ain't talking to
do
nobody.
you
That's my thought.
do you feel like that this was a calculated loss when they decided to make the two systems, or do you feel like this was something that it was unprecedented, and now they just trying to roll with the punches and continue on this path that they already committed to?
Um, it could be a little bit of both. I think it was unforeseen a little bit in regards to
I
how
think
complicated it could be for them to get games running on there. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
no, I think this is definitely they didn't expect it because the whole marketing for the Series S and the X was like they're going to be scalable, that it's weaker, but we design it in a way that all you got to do is hit these buttons, boop, 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 and it's going to work just fine. And it seems that it's not, maybe it is easy, but it's not that easy for every game. And that some developers would rather just not deal with it.
Yeah, and that's the reason why they stand steadfast with their parity clause. I don't think they want to get rid of their parity. They could just get rid of their parity clause and fix the issue, but that's not really fixing their issue. Their issue is that some people can't afford to pay for the Series X and they want a barrier of entry that works well for others. And I understand it and for a lot like philosophically, but also understand the developer's frustration with that because we're asking you to do more with less. That's not something we normally require of you outside of a big baseline. Like say for instance the Series X was the only console on the market. That is what your target is. That is what you do. But now we're telling you target this, but also target this. But because you what you want to do when you're developing games for this system is scale them in the proper ways. I don't think it's the Series S necessarily Series S's fault in a lot of cases. I think that it's definitely I believe they tried to solve for hardware issues in a different light where they felt like this resolution could be dropped and the CPU would be strong enough to still push out the frames. I think that is the key to what they were trying to scale. I think next time it's going to be even done. It's going to be done better. I just don't see them dropping that portion completely. I feel like they have to still figure out a way, and maybe it's just going to be replaced with an Xbox handheld. But an Xbox handheld still needs to have scalability. So I just don't think that they're going to get rid of this scalability thing. I think that this is their mojo. This is what they're going to do to differentiate themselves, and we just got to give them time to figure it out. I really don't feel like I'm losing anything because I still have a PC, and that's still a part of Xbox continuation of their scalability. I just don't see myself like losing right now. I understand where people are coming from, where they're missing out on certain games, but there's other ways to access them. And at this point, you have to understand. I'm not saying like get on their crusade or whatever. You can be pissed. It's not. That's not. You can definitely be pissed at them. This is a decision they're making that's fundamentally breaking your ability to play all the good games that's coming out on both consoles. So you can be pissed. I'm just trying to tell you to understand what probably they're thinking on their end and what we truly want. Because I am all for scalability. I'm all for handhelds moving to a bigger PC and still being able to have a functional experience on both. I don't want to lose that due to the fact that, we're just going to keep pushing for bigger, better hardware where nobody's optimizing nothing and it's just running like crap. Because at the end of the day, Wukong runs like crap on a PS5. Like, that's not good, It runs at like sub 40 and it's like the worst frame cap. And then the 30 FPS is even worse because it just like all of it's still crap. I'm not saying that you can play it, but bro, it's still crap.
But is it crap from your standpoint, or is it crap from a standard
it's crap user? From the standard user. They're utilizing frame generation, adding a bunch of latency.
But
to get
that's
to
not
60.
the conversation that I hear about it. People just love that game, and I know they're not playing on PC.
They have to be playing on a PC. There is no way they're playing on a PS5.
Not like regular dude. Like, I mean, like, for example, I'm not going to name any names.
Joe Blow, regular Joe Blow.
Yeah, Joe Blow. Like, Joe Blow tweeting, like, this game's so tight. Like, look at this combo I'm doing. He not playing on PC.
Man, if they playing on PC, PS5,
I know it's definitely people not on PC because I feel like I've entered like not maybe the 1%, but the top 20% that cares about frame rate, where most people still don't care about that, or they play it at 30 FPS.
I seen Lowe's having a blast playing Elden Ring on PS4, and I walked in and seen it, and this from somebody that, and now I'm gonna answer your question.
No VR, this from somebody playing on Elden Ring, right?
On a plasma screen TV at 720p, on having a blast playing Elden Ring, and that game was scratchy as hell. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that's not crap and all that type of stuff.
I guess is it acceptable? Is it if it's acceptable? Is it
acceptable? That's the question. Because you're probably in the top 10%. I can see this, that, and the third. All like most of the things you talk about that you can see in the thing. I don't see those things. Only thing I care about, like I'm playing Final Fantasy. I put that mug in 60 frames because I can see 60 from 30. That's about it. All the blurry, all that type of stuff, I could see maybe a little bit of it, but it ain't that much that's gonna be like, all right, they need to go back to the drawing board. This game run like trash, or they wrong for doing this. It ain't. I don't see those sorts of things. I understand it could be crystal clear. I went over your house and seen how the games can look, but
yeah,
that it doesn't provide that much of a difference. Where I need to do all these sorts of things to be like to care about it. Like I just like, all right, I just want to play that.
I think the frustration, or maybe they should consider it. I'm not saying that they have to change their plan. But like if it's having the side effect of losing a whole bunch of like AAA releases every year, even if those games come out later, I think that's not a good help for them in the long run.
No.
Whereas, like, let's say that the alternative is that they don't move forward with the Series S or whatever they do next. They don't have a Series S. They have a stream console. Like the lowest end is streaming, and then we got the home console that's $500. It's like that's obviously it would suck for people who don't want a streaming console, but they want to spend a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just the choice that you got to make. If you want physical media, then you buy the $500 console. If you want cheap media, then you got to stream it. Like, I think at least in that way, you don't have the side effect of missing AAA games.
Because the other aspect of those things is like, hey, I bought an Xbox, and the people like, okay, let's say me, prime example. I'm not necessarily in this crowd because I don't spend a lot of money on games and stuff like that as it is. But I'm like, hey, I bought this $500 Xbox. Xbox been seem like they've been doing better after they bad record with the Xbox One. All right, so the Xbox is supposed to be comparable, this and a third. We keep seeing PlayStation benchmarks for the games be a little bit better, but like, hey, I got this Xbox. Now I'm like, dang, I paid $500 for this Xbox, and then now I can't play these AAA games. Well, in the future, I'm gonna reconsider getting an Xbox because these AAA games ain't coming out. So it's just the publicity, it's the relationship building, not the word, but I'm gonna use that for lack of better words. Like, I think y'all understand. Like, I can trust that the Xbox is gonna get the same releases as the PlayStation and some of
Yeah.
the AAA games, and I'm not gonna hear about, well, we can't put it on the Xbox because we got a code for this, that, and the third. If I'm being
Yeah, I'm
completely
more
honest, when
worried
y'all was
about
telling me,
the
you
developer
said
side
what?
where like their game is not going to be on Xbox or it's not going to be good because they don't care about Xbox. So it makes it where it's like if all the developers will put in equal effort and then it's just up to me, I choose my preferred platform. But now it's clear that it's not equal effort from the developers, whereas they care less about the Xbox version. So that makes me not even want to buy the Xbox version because the developer don't care about it, or they
Just
put
like with the
less work into
PS3. Like, we got to do all this type of stuff and build the game a certain way because the PS3 wants this, that, and the third. It creates a bad track record. Essentially, this really sound identical, not 100%, but it sound identical to the whole iOS versus Android debate, right? All the apps, they work seamlessly for the most part on the iOS because it's a more streamlined process and it's straightforward versus, hey, I'm making this app for Kit Kat. I'm
Mm-hmm.
making it for Marshmallow. Well, LG, they want to be on French toast sandwich, whatever they be calling anything. We got to make it this way, but let's try to find a way to make it so it's quote unquote scalable. So Samsung, even though y'all on Kit Kat and the other place on ice cream sandwich, we gonna get y'all ice cream sandwich on the Samsungs regardless of where y'all at because we just need it to run everywhere. I don't care about making it for this phone and making it for that phone. I just want y'all to use my app, bro, and I'm gonna make it the most easiest possible for me. I don't care about doing all the extra stuff because it's diminishing returns at that point.
Mm. No, I mean,
So
I think y'all have a
it's just
valid
different
point.
standpoints.
Getting the game, regardless of what state it's in, is impactful. Having a game come out and be completely broken on a system comparable to a Cyberpunk 2077 to the point where they have to pull it down, that's different than not being able to access the game at all. I understand the plight and I understand the problem, but I also understand the value of offline hardware and how we pretty much forego the PlayStation Portal, but we like our Steam Deck simply because of how much function you actually get out of this thing. So when
Yeah.
I think about hardware and approaching new hardware, I'm thinking of it from the aspect of how do they continue to build that momentum for their ecosystem. And that's a unification of Xbox and Windows in a different way that we probably never seen before. But I understand that this
The
barrier
customer come first.
could be a big problem before we get there, and maybe not
Yeah.
creating that problem in the future could be beneficial to the brand.
Yeah. I
So
just think they need some sort of flexibility Like, I don't know what the answer is, but like on PC and the Steam Deck, you can choose the settings, and that kind of alleviates the parity issue because you have the ability to tailor it. There's like the Xbox Series S, since it's mandatory, that's kind of the problem. Maybe it's not mandatory, but there's some sort of back end way to still deliver the game to Series S players, you know.
Yeah, they can definitely do the same thing they do with the Xbox One, where they can stream it, but they just can't play it on the system. Like they can literally say, well, but I think they have a pretty much a very much so, you know, they want it to run on the hardware offline, and I think that that's important. So I don't think they want to do any, you know, side steps where they say, well, we stream it on Series S, but you can play it directly on the Xbox Series X. But that may be you know, that may be something they have to just, you know, give up on, and kind of continue forward with making sure you keep the customers happy and providing games that people want to play. But I think that it's gonna be a slippery slope, and that's where I think that they're hesitant. Um, and I think that they don't want to devalue a console that some people have. It's probably millions out there now. Um, so it's a big gamble there. It's not just shutting it off and saying, hey, this is whatever now. I think that there's a big gamble there, and in order for them to get through this generation, they have to, which we should be done with in another couple of years. They have to continue to provide scalability, and I think that they are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of where our competition is, and regardless of what we think. So, that's where that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for. I always say that Xbox games run better on my PC than most games simply because they have to. They have to do that scalability thing. I don't really have as many issues that I have with other games releasing because they for Hellblade was magnificent. For Forza was the outlier motorsport, but it wasn't as bad as like I couldn't get 60. It was more so about the weird coloring stuff. And then there was like, you know, the games that I recently played on there, Halo Infinite. Everything was really well done on the PC. So I can see the frameworking there, and I just want that to continue from going from the lowest end to the highest end. And I think that being a barrier right now is helping them get there. But I can also see you guys' points pretty clearly because don't nobody want that PS4 sticking around making their PS5 games look old. So I get it. But okay. So I think that's pretty much it, and I appreciate the conversation because we went a little bit overboard, but good conversations, good moments, good talks. Glad you guys tuned in. So if you got to this part, you're the real OG. I want to thank you as always, listeners, to us ramble for a couple of hours, talk about games, something we're passionate in, and we appreciate you guys coming back as always. Anything to say to the people before we get up out of here?
No. Power to the people.
No.
Not this one.
No, we got a long podcast. So y'all got enough for us today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys tuning in, though. Thanks again, and we will talk to you all next week. Peace.